In this podcast, we talk to James Neophytou about his wealth of experience in the enterprise asset management space. Hey James, tell us about your journey from IBM to becoming a school teacher.
My journey from IBM to becoming a maths teacher at school was that I'd spent about 25 years in the energy industry with IBM. I was implementing AI and analytic solutions for the oil companies around the world. And I'd done that quite extensively. And I hit a certain age and felt that the next few years should be something different, something a bit challenging, even though my career was challenging. So I decided to look to go into teaching, and I've been doing that for the last 3 years now. I now teach maths and economics at a secondary school in London, and hopefully I'm able to bring a lot of my world experience into the classroom as well.
What key projects have you worked on during your time at IBM?
During my time at IBM, there were some key projects that I remember and were impactful in the enterprise asset management space. For about 8 years, I worked exclusively for one client, which was BP. BP had been using Maximo around the world, and we'd helped them to implement Maximo, but because they had about 50 different versions, whether it was exploration or refining or retail, we helped them to create a template so that everywhere would have the same version. So there's a few organizations involved in that, but I was part of the project team that helped them standardize, and then we rolled out around the world, so everybody was working to the same standard and same level. Took a few years, but eventually saved them a lot of money in terms of repetition and quality across the world. And the reason it's important to me is that I got to see the world. I went to places like Vietnam, Houston, West Africa, Angola, and basically standardized BP on Maximo. And that's where I really cut my teeth with engineering asset management.
What developments have you seen in the enterprise asset management space over the years?
So having worked in enterprise asset management and Maximo for about 20 years, the trends that I've seen have been quite dramatic. I mean, in the beginning, it was standard maintenance management, maintaining a plant, whether it was preventative or corrective maintenance, and the standard works of work orders, task lists, assigning jobs and planning. Over the years, with improvements in technology, the workforce, it's really become more of a front office enterprise planning system with AI. If you look at Maximo today, it's got artificial intelligence embedded, it's got predictive analytics, it's got anomaly detection. You're linking it with mobility, you're using smart devices, and you're hooking back to a digital twin that basically can help you, improve the interventions. So whereas before it was preventative versus reactive conversation, now you can't really be doing reactive unless you really have to. You want to move the reactive work down to 5 or 10%. So now we're about safety, we're about weather predictions imported in to help you plan the work. You're helping the mobile workforce become more productive, and you're feeding them information on their device real time on how did we fix this last time, what's the optimal technique to use, and all the time the algorithms in the background are helping predict and actually intervene before things happen. So it's very proactive. And I think the biggest trend in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years was the area that I was responsible for within consulting and IBM, which is the Internet of Things, where everything is censored up now. Machines actually talk to the control center. Machines are intelligent, and they can tell you their temperature, their vibration, whether they're in or out of tolerance. So it's no longer so much human intervention. You obviously need humans to resolve the issues, but the machine intelligence, I think, is probably the biggest the biggest trend, and that's only going to get smarter as we get into the world of electric vehicles, self-driving cars. All machines are going to be more intelligent, and industrial plant is already headed in that direction. And this is a good thing because it will improve safety, it will improve uptime, production, and revenue for industrial companies. So that's probably been the biggest change that I've seen over the 20 years.
How has your experience in the corporate world influenced your approach to
Mm.
teaching in the classroom?
Well, I've taken a lot of lessons from the corporate world into my teaching practice. Um, a couple come to mind. First of all, when I was at IBM, we would be pitching to clients fairly regularly, every few weeks to win work, to bid for work, talk about our credentials and our experience and give demonstrations. So you're always trying to pitch to clients and impress clients. Um, and now in the classroom, I do that 5 times a day. Basically, it's become more intensive, more accelerated. I've got 30 clients in front of me, um, quite challenging clients, and I need to keep them on task. So that's one thing, is actually sharpen my communication abilities, listening abilities as well. But I think the other thing as well is I try to bring some demos from the real world into the classroom. I've got a small sensor device um, that that measures vibration, temperature, light, and I that around the class. There's a particular part of the business A level curriculum that talks about technology, enterprise resource planning, and I show them what IoT is about. So I hand that around, we monitor it on my iPhone, and they can see it in real life. So I think one of the things is to bring demos into the classroom, make it real, so they're not just learning from a textbook or case studies. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things I bring to the classroom, having worked for 30 years in the corporate world, is bringing those real life stories. I mean, I could read the newspaper article in the morning on a business or an economy or a company, take it into classroom, and we could have a lesson around that. I think that those years have given me that confidence. A lot of teachers go into teaching straight from university, and very competent, very sensible in their 20s, but don't have that kind of real world practicality. And I think that's maybe what differentiates me in the classroom, although I get on with all my colleagues, and the leadership do value what I bring as well. I had to sort of learn a few things about the year groups and the curriculums, but after 3 years, I'm on track now, I think.
As the non-executive director for MaxLogic, how do you see the future of enterprise asset management evolving? And what role do you see MaxLogic playing in the future?
Well, MaxLogic and the enterprise asset management space is they're kind of made for each other. I think what I've seen, having spent 23 years at IBM, is that the channel partners play a huge role in reaching out to the customer base, to the client base, with their specialisms. There's no way that IBM with Maximo can reach all industries, all clients, so therefore it needs those channels. And MaxLogic have positioned themselves superbly. I mean, I'm now non-executive director at MaxLogic, and through my summer holidays, when I'm not at school, I work with the team, with Ed and Chris, to really think about industries, to really think about target clients, help on certain pitches and proposals. And we've also looked at doing value stream mapping internally of what MaxLogic does well, and it does a lot of things very well, um, where we can improve, where we can fine tune the message. But I think that kind of solid delivery, commercial insight, propositions, and actually creating real value for clients. I think MaxLogic was one of the first companies in the UK to actually deploy the Boston Dynamics robot dog that can go off, Spot I think it's called, that can go off and do inspections. And if you link that to the Maximo in the cloud, you can get visual inspection quickly. You can look at your anomaly detection, do a bit of predictive analytics, and actually put the control room of clients in the driving seat. So I think that's invaluable. Um, I think that nimbleness, precision, and fastness, responsiveness to clients really positions MaxLogic very, very well. And I know they're a valued partner of the IBM ecosystem. So my minimal contribution in the summertime and chat throughout the year, I think has given me confidence in the company. I love working with them, and I look forward to doing it each holiday that I get. Um, but also kind of giving that kind of wider IBM perspective. Still reaching back into IBM if there are larger clients that some of the IBM guys still reach out to me on what we used to do here with Maximo, where should they be going next? What should the strategy be? And that's useful for the ecosystem partners like MaxLogic. So long may it continue.
Do you have anything else you would like to talk about?
I do have a couple of things. Uh, so one of the things I've picked up in my years with Maximo is that certain industries have really contributed and led the field. I would say two in particular spring to mind. One is energy, which is focused on safety, production, and efficiency. And the other one is the aviation industry. The aviation industry, airlines, really invented enterprise asset management. In the 50s and 60s, safety became key in the airline industry, and they invented phrases that we use today. So they invented words like overhaul, task list, job plan, preventative maintenance, and we use those in our everyday language. And the airline industry is probably the safest it's ever been, and it set the standard in terms of high performance. You basically can't have anything less than the utmost safety. So that's one industry that's fed in, and we will take that for granted now. But that's the legacy of it. And in energy, that focus on safety and operational performance, MaxLogic does a lot of work with energy clients, um, keeping the lights running in the UK, keeping energy flow. So these are critical industries. These are part of the national critical infrastructure that can't ever switch off, basically. So I think Maximo forms part of the fabric of the country, forms part of the fabric of why things work. It's kind of a hidden gem, but those that know, those in the field, those mobile workers, those engineers that keep the country running, know that they rely on critical processes and systems that make sure we all get our energy and lighting and food distribution and transportation. So that's why I still enjoy working in the industry, and especially with MaxLogic.